Hey everybody. I usually don't make videos this close back to back, but it has to happen right now. So this video is about just getting out of the state of division and just remembering that the goal is love, okay? And this situation of the world is really complex, and I want to share more. Hopefully you've seen some of my past videos. I'm gonna say really quick what they're all about if you haven't, because some people are actually watching these, so thank you for whoever's doing that. It's very much appreciated, seriously. And anybody who's reached out to me with any information or anything they want me to know, or any way that I've offended them, which I'll get, everything is just continuing to open my awareness. So thank you. Hopefully this will continue to open your awareness too. So, if you saw my video, How to Help, that kind of talks about some of the history about how Israel did try to share through certain peace deals, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work. Current reality is that there is a genuine, I wrote notes for like the first time ever, because there's so much I want to talk about that, so just bear with me. The current reality is that there is a genuine terror threat, but obviously Netanyahu is not like totally innocent either. You can look at my video, Peace Up, Follow Up, for more on that. In addition to that, my video, Dragon's Head, is discussing how you have to understand, though, in that context, that there is legitimate, like, Jewish trauma in the DNA that's affecting all this. And then my most recent video, hopefully you watched it too, was, actually on here I wrote DNA stagnation as well. That is true, that the DNA has also stagnated. And then really the most important video I posted so far is the one that I posted yesterday, because we need this peace deal to go through now. So if you haven't watched it yet, please watch it. It's called Hamama and Hashem, and it's all about reimagining, just like reinfusing, not taking sides, and just reinfusing all of this outdated energy with like divine feminine energy instead. So, in terms of anybody who's watching this, I just want to remind everybody again that this situation is very complex, but at its root, the world will try to make you see it differently, and don't let it, okay? Because that's not how Jews see it. Except for like extreme right-wing, like right people, yes, separate. But the vast majority of Israelis and Jews see it like this. We are both indigenous people to the land of Israel in Palestine, to that land. And that is where originally there were the Canaanites, and we were literally related, okay? And then the two people had very different journeys. And I've talked about this before, but Jews were sent off into diaspora and persecuted, and Palestinians stayed and were not persecuted and were living happily on the land, okay? This is just important to remember. We're not taking sides. This is not about sides anymore. We have to be done with sides. Sides have to die. Goodbye with thinking of sides. As I said, we are two indigenous people. We are literally related. The goal is that we can be together. So, some of why things have stagnated is because there's the issue of the extreme right. We can talk about that in a little bit. That's legitimate. But also an issue is that people have gotten focused on either hostages, although I will say I haven't heard any Jews speak anything negative about Palestinians that I know. I've always heard them be focused on the hostages, but want peace. And but a lot of people who are posting ceasefire, which is good, if you already saw my how to help video, you already know I think that that's a good thing as long as you're not being anti-Semitic. The issue is that, thank you for that. The issue is that, unfortunately, this whole thing that should have been more pure and simple got super caught up in anti-Semitism, which I know you guys want me to stop talking about that, but like, it's part of the equation. So what Jews would have wanted the energy to be is for everyone to see that there was actually, the hostages are like a microcosm of the exact same energy of suffering as the other citizens of Gaza. Okay, those energies of suffering are the same. And so, like, for example, like when I look at what's happening with the hostages right now, then immediately after I go to Queen Gaza's Instagram and I see what's happening there too. Like, as I've said before, like, I'm feeling compassion for everybody in this scenario. And that's really what the answer is. Part of the answer. Let's keep going now through the list. Okay, so on this note about the next thing on my list is minorities are validated. I recently posted something on Instagram where I was like, it was talking about how somebody was really sending love to the Jewish people who were also holding compassion for Palestinians at the same time. But then in the description I wrote, how did this become a Black Lives Matter movement? How did this become an Indigenous peoples movement? How did this become a women's rights movement? How did this become an Arab rights movement? And all this stuff, okay? And my friend, who is, I'm really glad she reached out to me. She is the descendant of like genocide survivors in Rwanda. She essentially brought to my heart and mind the fact that a couple of things. One, she brought to my heart and mind the fact that as a Jewish person who's a minority, as we can clearly see, also a minority by the serious rises in anti-Semitism around the world. If anything, we just definitely proved our spot in the minority club, okay? But she said, you know, nobody knows you're Jewish. If you walk down the street, you know, it's true, my grandpa even, who survived the Holocaust, came to America and changed his last name. So my last name is no longer Horowitz, which is super Jewish, you know, and I don't necessarily look Jewish, whatever that means. So you're right. Like, I have been totally white privileged in terms of the external experience. I've still see the anxiety and stress and suffering that I've talked about in other videos within Jews on the inside that hasn't healed. But in terms of externally, how somebody might see me, the police, whatever, and we've also, as Jews, have had white privilege too, because, and this is really important to remember, because our history teaches about the Holocaust, okay? They teach, because America was involved and that stuff, they teach about what happened. So people kind of have it in their heart. They know about that. And then simultaneously, and even current, well, I don't talk about that yet. So I think like other minority groups are feeling like, yo, dude, like you're a minority and you're doing pretty good. Like, you know, we learn about your history. You got Israel back. Like financially, a lot of you are doing good. Even what we just saw with, you know, like it's important to remember that anti-Semitism does still genuinely exist, and it gets in the way of all this. Like you can't get to the root when you're stuck in anti-Semitism. But even recently, when, you know, university presidents failed to protect Jewish students from calls of genocide, and with the protests that happened that were anti-Semitic, and we're calling from the river to the sea in Fatah, like all that stuff that was genuinely anti-Semitic. I'm not saying every person there is or intended to be, but in this country and around the world, this movement has gotten co-opted and gotten tainted, okay? We're gonna get to that. But either way, everyone's seeing how well, like, America stepped in, like, the Senate stepped in, got rid of those present leaders, except ironically, the one who's still there, who's Jewish, like, yeah, we should have gotten rid of her too. She's anti-Semitic too. Let's not keep ourselves, like, we have to include ourselves in the equation. I believe she was at MIT. Whatever. Oh, and then obviously the money that the U.S. has sent. Okay, so like the minorities are like, dude, at least this is how I'm perceiving it. Like, you're a minority too. You're experiencing all this shit. You have extra responsibility to step up. And that's also part of why the resentment comes out. Like, they're like, this is hypocritical. You know what? And I don't disagree. Like, as the position we're in right now, we do have extra responsibility. So much to share, Jesus. Okay, we talked about all that. Okay, so I wanted to share about, there is a great video. So the way that I perceive this, I hope this doesn't seem off topic. Okay, so the way that I perceive this, and I highly recommend everyone watch it, I can even link it below. There's a song called Talk About It by The Jungle. And in the music video, it starts off with this woman like walking in. They all sit in a group of all these different ethnicities and kind of are like working stuff out and then like anger out. And then they're dancing out the anger too. And then and it's really beautiful. And the lyrics are beautiful. They say, "The higher you go, I will always be there. The highs and lows, I will always be there." So they're working all this out. And then at the very end, the woman at the beginning, who's beautiful, I have to say, I think she's beautiful. But anyways, at the very end, she joins the dance and then she walks off with one of the other women. And that's how I personally perceive like my responsibility as a Jewish person in this moment. I hope no one thinks anything else, because the whole time I've literally been posting on Facebook, "From the river to the sea, peace for you and peace for me." That's truly what my heart wants. So anyways, but like, yeah, I just love that video because it's like her time. It's like her time to kind of watch and hold space for this healing process, and of how minorities have felt like their voices, like, even though I don't think that a lot of those apply, except for the extreme right situation in Israel, in which case it does apply. In most of the cases, it doesn't. Because if you look at, I mean, I'm not saying you have to really understand the complexity of Israel to understand why that is. But like, a lot of this is like thinking about, like, for example, in Israel, if we're talking about blackness, there's a bunch of Ethiopian Jews there who were saved from Ethiopia, that Israel went in and saved them. And then Latin America, like, there's a lot of Jews who in diaspora went to Latin America and then ended up coming to Israel. And then obviously there's people of European descent. And then there's a whole bunch of Jews of Arab descent. So like, Israel itself is like a huge mix. It's actually beautifully fascinating to see what their experiences of, and obviously not everyone there is Jewish, but like what their experience of being like all being different races and different backgrounds and different all of this, and still considering themselves Jewish. So I just think it's important to remember that complexity. And then also, as far as the indigenous part, you know, Jews are indigenous to Israel. We are. So you can't really do the colonization piece either. However, that said, yeah, we have a giant responsibility to make sure that the other people of the land get equally the same thing. And I think that's why the minority movement has really held on to this, because this is a really special moment. Like, there is actually possibility for change, and the whole world has been watching this. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I have more stuff on here, but I'm almost out of time, and I think I will save it for another day. The last thing I was going to say is everybody should look up the Standing Together movement. It's a movement in Israel of Palestinian Israelis and Jewish Israelis who are actually joining forces together. Like, they've been blockading the extreme right wing who are trying to like disrupt the aid, and so it's actually working. And there's no anti-Semitism in that movement. It's super pure. There's no anti-Zionism of the existence of Israel in the movement. Like, it's pure, it's beautiful, and it's Arabs, Palestinians, and Israelis just working together. Okay, bye.